And we're live. All right. I'm a traveler of both time and space. Hey, everyone. I am Jack Mangan of the Am I Evil graphic novel, MetalAsylum.net, the Metal Hall of Fame. Today, I am rocking the Joe Satriani t-shirt, which is appropriate for our guests. My cohort and brother from my home state of New Jersey. I'll let him introduce himself.
Rich Catino from Metal Asylum and Brave Words Magazine and the Metal Hall of Fame as well, and the Sea of Tranquility. And we are joined by, on my, I guess that'd be my right, Vicki. Introduce yourself to everyone.
Sure. Well, yeah, we'll start with Vicki, please.
Hey, everyone. What a cool thing to be on a metal podcast thing here. This is great, you guys. I'm Vicki Genfan. I'm basically an acoustic player, doing all kind of shreddy, crazy things on acoustic. Not really, but kind of. And from New Jersey originally. So glad to be here.
Cool.
Very cool. All right. How about Jennifer next, please?
I am Jennifer Batten, played with Michael Jackson and Jeff Beck and Steven Seagal. We don't often talk about that one for a good damn reason. But yeah, I am part of this troupe of the Guitar Cloud Symposium instructors, gearing up for our January 16th deep dive into Eddie Van Halen, Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, and Joni Mitchell.
Very cool. Awesome. Okay, maybe Jude, you go next.
Well, hi. Thanks for having us. Great to be in New Jersey. By the way, I have a podcast too, and my latest guest coming out probably tomorrow or the next day is a guy you remind me of, Bumblefoot, Ron Thal.
Wow.
He should do one of these guitar symposiums too, Jennifer.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Jude. I do play in Jefferson Starship for the last 8 years, and we have a new album that just came out in August called Mother of the Sun. But I've been deeply moved by Van Halen since I was 12 years old. And when Jennifer and Gretchen suggested that I do this, I had to do it. Just comes straight from the heart. So I'm really looking forward to diving into some Van Halen 1 week from today.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Actually, you're off, dude. It's on Saturday. You're going to miss it by 24 hours.
Okay, note to self. That was a close one. I seriously might admit now. So you're telling me today's not Saturday?
Saturday. Remember that.
It should be. Should be Saturday. And then last but not least, our final guest. Welcome, Gretchen.
Hey, you guys. Thanks for having us. Yeah, I'm going to be taking a look at a little bit of what I can get into an hour plus about Jimmy Page. There's so much to say. I've been talking to my fellow instructors of like, oh my God, how do you begin to encapsulate all of the brilliance of these amazing artists in a short time? But I think it's all about kind of digging into what, at least the way I'm doing it, is what's not readily available everywhere on the internet.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, well, welcome, you guys. You know, Rich and I we both agree. You know, this is long overdue for us to talk guitar here at Metal Asylum. Because, you know, we've talked to a lot of greats and we've talked to a lot of great bass players, but we haven't really done this kind of thing. And I love all four of the guitar players that you guys are talking about. And so this is going to be really, really exciting. I'm stoked. So, Rich, why don't you lead us off? I know we both have a bunch of questions. Why don't you... Actually, no, never mind. I'm going to take it back from Rich. Sorry, Rich. I totally blocked you there. Tell people, so you guys tell us about Guitar Cloud Symposium. Let's start there. Tell us what that's all about.
And well, let me jump in real quick. Why the name? Why is it a Guitar Cloud Symposium?
Well, I wanted it to be descriptive. So it's all about guitar. It is an educational symposium that happens every month, and we meet on Zoom. So it is, you know, great for a pandemic. We'll be ready for the next one too.
Oh my God.
But it kind of grew out of a seminar I put together 8 years ago, I guess. I took my little motorhome around America, and I had so much information I wanted to impart to guitar players. And I would get these Skype students, you know, remember Skype back in the days before Zoom? that I was just appalled at certain things that they didn't know that would be very helpful to them. So I jammed everything I wanted to say into 4 hours. And this is kind of like 2.0 version of that. where instead of, having your eyes roll back in your head because it's me talking, I have a minimum of 4 people breaking up content, and I wanted them to teach things that they were passionate about. And that's something I don't want to control. I want to say, things that you love. I mean, Vicki's into this percussive acoustic thing, and Gretchen's into something different every month. I can't even go there. And so, and I wanted it to be over a weekend, and it's stretching out into 4 days because I start on the Fridays for the 4-day event, which is every other month. And the months we don't do the 4-day event, we do a single deep dive, which is what's coming up next Saturday. But, we had, all of us have so much that we want to teach that we were doing 24 different modules and condensing it down to 20-minute segments, like TED Talks. So it's like you get these rocket scientists from around the world that have to dumb it down for the population and condense it into 20 minutes of bam, bam, bam. So you put on your seatbelt on Saturday morning. The Friday night is an orientation where we get to meet people and talk a little bit about what they'll be going through. Then Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, we just hit 90 minutes each instructor, which includes Q&A with the students. And then it goes from one instructor to the next. And at the end, Monday, we have a wrap party that is just so fun. And it usually involves an entire bottle of champagne at my house. And we have a special guest. And the last guest we had was Steve Vai, a Q&A with the students after the sponsor giveaways. Positive Grid is behind us for this. They're the presenting sponsor. And we have 14 other sponsors that are so generous with giveaways that's the first hour. We just give away guitar straps from Lockett, Fishman, clip-on tuners, guitars, amps, you name it. And then we have a special guest. And we've had Scott Henderson was the first one, and Andy Timmons. And, I don't pressure people to play, but Andy played, 5 or 6 tunes. It was just epic. And then Steve Vai got on, and he went on for over 2 hours. It was fantastic getting into this deep philosophy about artistry, and wow, mind blown. I mean, I think everybody on that meeting was transformed. The next one in February is going to be Dweezil Zappa, so that's going to be epic as well. So you asked a simple question, and I'm fully caffeinated, and I don't want to take up the whole time.
No, I love it. I love the answer. Yeah. That's great. All right. Well, go ahead, Rich. I know I stepped on you with your question. So
no, that's all right. That's all right. I just wanted to piggyback what you had when I was asking about the name of it, why it's called that.
Yeah. Well, next week I want to talk about the 4 of you. In fact, you've chosen 4 really exciting guitar players, and we need to talk about those 4 before we're done here in this hour. But let's talk about you guys. In fact, I'm going to tell a quick personal story because it's all about me. I'm going to tell a quick personal story. So in the early days when I was doing podcasts, this is around 2005 or 2006, I'd interviewed a couple of famous people, but the first person I ever interviewed that really made me nervous and intimidated, not her own fault, was Jennifer Batten. Because I was just like, she is so amazing. I'm not even worthy of just watching her doing her finger tapping, going like, holy shit, how is that even possible? She is. So I'm still equally in awe of you today as then Jennifer Batten. But you remember that, of course. You remember that interview, right? I'm kidding.
I don't remember what happened yesterday, but I don't doubt that happened.
But no, it was really fun. And I appreciate you guys coming back today. But yeah, of course, Jennifer had the hair and everything, all the the finger tapping and the Michael Jackson, just an amazing, amazing career. I guess that's not a question. It's just me fanboying and gushing. But yeah, I've been a fan for a long time. All right, Rich, I'm embarrassing myself. Please ask a question.
Take over. All right. So you guys are 4 different guitar players. So did you select the guitar player that you're going to be demonstrating because they're kind of like your style, or are they a little different? Can you each tell us why you selected that guitar player that you're going to be doing the demo on?
Vicki, you go.
Okay. Well, I guess I picked Joni Mitchell because she was kind of my main influence as I'd say like an 11, 12-year-old. And I was playing acoustic, and I was kind of a folky when I started playing. And I was into James Taylor and Crosby, Stills, Nash. folky people. And although I was a Jackson 5 mega fan, so and Monkeys. I don't know. I have to admit all that. I heard Joni and I thought Joni's guitar sounded different, really sounded different. It kind of blew my mind. I was like hearing chord voicings I'd never heard before and just progressions I'd never heard before. And I found out she was changing the tuning. And so I began and I just went down this road that actually built my own career, which became one of playing open tunings, percussive techniques that use open tunings, slapping, tapping, body percussion here, kind of being a one woman band. But all that was from what I heard out of Joni's guitars. So I just thought, she's iconic in the singer-songwriter world as a lyricist, even as a painter. She's amazing. But I don't know if her guitar playing is as well understood or appreciated as I think it should be. She was a trailblazer. She was fiercely committed to doing things her own way. And the tunings for her were the way that she could express what the music she was hearing in her head, And so I just want to share a little bit of, her timeline, her history, her 19 albums, of which she produced 18 of them herself, and give people a taste of a few of her songs. We're going to work in one of her tunings. She's got 57 some odd tunings. So we're just going to work with one and show you guys a couple songs. And that's it. I think she's a real powerhouse. I think she really deserves to be featured as a guitarist. So that's why I chose Joni.
Wow. Sold.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Who's next?
Gretchen, go.
Well, my really fun day job for more than a decade now has been playing in Zepparella. So I've played quite a bit of Jimmy Page's stuff, and I feel like I can at least speak to it in a way that might be, like I said, different from so many people have transcribed Jimmy Page. It's so iconic. It's such an important part of like just the hard rock, metal, catalog.
Yeah.
And so there's so many different takes on it. And as I often say, nobody takes more liberties with Jimmy Page than Jimmy Page. So there are a lot of, I think, different valid interpretations. So I feel like what I can share is of somebody who's spent many, many hundreds of hours on stage playing this music live with the band, including going into a lot of different techniques he used. I definitely did not think I would ever be abusing a Les Paul with a violin bow, but it turns out you kind of have to do that. I thought it was going to be a little too Spinal Tap, but it ended up being actually really fun. The girls had to twist my arm a bit. I didn't want to do it. I was afraid it was going to. The one thing we've always really aimed is to not. Led Zeppelin is holy ground for so many of us. And when you're honoring somebody else's music, we wanted to honor it the way an orchestra honors Beethoven or Stravinsky, as opposed to dressing like them or like having it be any shtick, which I think for some bands it works, certainly for, I think, AC/DC, Van Halen, bands that have a lot of kind of tongue-in-cheek quality, a lot of humor, but Led Zeppelin, it felt like we wanted to approach it very respectfully. And so I'm talking about some of the lesser known treasures, I think, in here that are in the catalog. Some open tuning stuff, which I feel silly doing, given that Vicki's like the high priestess of open tunings. But so just the enormous number of techniques that Jimmy Page uses, everything from slide to like the bow stuff to open tunings to finger style techniques to hybrid picking. So many different techniques if you want to play the Zeppelin catalog.
Awesome.
Is it before we go on, is there a Jimmy Page song or riff or solo that you just couldn't get? You were just like, I can't do this, I'm done?
No, but I would say maybe the trickiest thing, Jimmy Page, it's not very technical stuff, but I think what makes Jimmy Page is that unlike a lot of guitar players who are very fretboard focused, he has this really wide view. And so to me, it's his writing, his production, his groove, the way he listens to the other band members, and the way I think he plays guitar with the ears of production and composition as opposed to just like fretboard pyrotechnics. So I think a lot of the stuff that he plays is something that's achievable even for somebody, you know, who's not been playing the instrument for an incredibly long time. It isn't like trying to learn to play, you know, Jason Becker stuff or, you know, things that do take just a certain number of years and hours with the metronome. But I think the music is so deep that even if you've played it for a very long time, and I've even heard people who I would gladly take lessons from playing Led Zeppelin, and you can always tell if playing Led Zeppelin is a new thing for somebody, even if, you know, even if they're very good. There's a lot about it that's kind of deceptively strange, but it's never just the weedly stuff that I think is difficult.
Oh, that's well said. And I promise we're going to move on, but I also, Jimmy Page for me is massive. Just one of my very first loves on guitar. Just incredible. And yeah, I agree with everything you said. And we'll circle back. I definitely have some Jimmy Page questions. I have questions for all of you guys, but yeah, Jimmy Page is a huge deal for me. He's a god. All right. So no, great answers, Gretchen and Vicki. So Jude or Jennifer, Jennifer, we'll let you direct. Who goes next?
I'll direct to Jude.
All right.
Thank you. You guys want to see my new favorite piece of gear?
Yes.
It's my standing desk. It goes up and down. Now I can show you this guitar. I wasn't planning on playing guitar, but you guys brought that up at the beginning. So, I mean, Van Halen has totally affected my style, like his percussive use of harmonics. Like, can you hear that?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Like I take chord progressions and I play them. Some I slap them a lot. And like hitting those harmonics to me is like it's straight out of Mean Street. Mm-hmm. One more time. I mean, it helps if you have a raging Marshall, but we're doing Mean Street on a Telecaster today, folks. But like those jams that Van Halen did all the time, like he made the open D and G string sound bigger than on that little break in Mean Street. So that there's basically from the harmonics to the funky stuff to the beautiful clean stuff that he did. I'm going to try to cover everything I can and connect it all together in that 90-minute whatever, take some questions, interact with the students. I'm really looking forward to it. And don't get me started on noodling and all this stuff.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, again, I agree. You could just hear in every note he played just how much he loved it. And wow, I'm just mesmerized watching your desk go up and down now.
It's the coolest thing.
That's awesome.
I hardly ever sit at the desk. I'm such a nerd.
Very cool.
I would encourage everybody to check out Jude's Eruption on YouTube.
I watched that. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Super badass.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Jeff Beck. I fell in love with his music when it was on the radio in the 70s, which, you know, that was pretty mind-boggling to have instrumental music on the radio anyway. But there's a reason that he was on, because it was that good. And the Blow by Blow record that I'm talking about came out in 1974. And it has been the biggest selling instrumental record for decades until Kenny G.
Oh no!
Really? Wow!
I know. I just there are no words. But anyway, back then I learned. Actually, you know what? I went to Guitar Institute of Technology and graduated in '79. And one of the things that we had to do was to transcribe somebody's music and play it with a band. And Steve Lynch, who ended up in the band called Autograph, did 'Cause We Ended as Lovers from Blow by Blow. And I mean, I was into Beck before that, but when I heard it live in my face, done well, it just holy shit. So as soon as we graduated, I learned the entire record. And then I went on and learned the Wired record, note for note. Then I started with There and Back, and I thought, oh my God, it's too much. So two records is a lot. It's a lot of work that went into that. There was one song that I started with on There and Back that was such a long solo. I was just over it at that point. But I mean, he's such a guitar god to so many guitar players for good reason. He's just streaming a whole other consciousness that goes way beyond licks, way beyond chops. It's just, the way he phrases his note choices. And it hit me one night when I was on stage with him. He could make any sound. I mean, just a wicked harmonic that's between the frets, and it just sounds so hi-fi and badass. It's, he's untouchable, really. But we try, and it's kind of fun because I just uploaded another one today. I'm uploading solos from Blow by Blow and Wired, and it, after 30 years going back and relearning them, I'm seeing them from a whole other perspective. And I'm just trying to condense everything about him that I think is very Beckish that you don't hear other players do. And all of the courses that we're doing are supported by materials, PDFs or videos. And so it's just kind of like guitar candy for people. Anybody can join us from around the world on Zoom. Last time we had someone from Zimbabwe. We've got a couple from Mexico City that keeps joining us every time since August. So it's just a big party and a community. And we also have a members only Facebook page that people are pretty active uploading their own playing. And I'll, give special posts and information to them that the general public doesn't get. And I'm also doing a once a month Zoom for students to build the community so students get to know each other well. And especially, it's so needed during lockdown when people can't go out to see each other play, or we can't play ourselves out live. It just seems to be filling a need.
Yeah, I agree, and I applaud you guys for doing it. And this is a lot of fun. I mean, this right here is a lot of fun. But yeah, just the geeking out about our guitar heroes. And I guess I'll start. Yeah. Well, I mean, just talk about your personal experiences with each of them. I mean, Jennifer, you just mentioned that you've been on stage with your guitar hero. I can't even imagine. It's like being able to jam with Jimi Hendrix. It's got to be incredible being on stage with Jeff Beck. I mean, tell us how that felt. What's going through your mind? And,
when you say that, it triggered a memory of we were going through an airport in Brazil, and Jeff was in the next line over from me. And I could hear a conversation where somebody was asking him, "Who are you? What do you do?" And he said, "Jeff Beck, I'm a guitarist." I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? That's Jeff Beck!" How does anybody on planet Earth not know who he is? It just cracked me up. I went into that land and totally spaced on your question. Oh, what was it like?
Yeah.
Of course it was intimidating at first. I thought, holy shit. I mean, it's not a dream that I ever had. And he asked me 5 years before it actually happened. So I had plenty of time to have recurring nightmares. Like, I didn't know the music. I walked on stage without a guitar. Any anxiety you could think of was things that came back in my head. But after a while, I figured he was on to other things and he forgot about it. And that's when he called and said, "Okay, I got a tour, come over." And, it was, I would say it was intimidating, but because of his personality, so down to earth. I mean, he's like a 6-year-old in a sandbox and he just wants to have fun. And, as long as you do your job, that's what's going to happen. We're going to have fun. So 3 years of, it was a party. It was a moving party. And not just because there was champagne waiting for us after every single show. He's a comedian, especially once the pressure of the show is off. He could have his own comedy show. And that's something people don't get to see much of. But it was just a great hang, a really great hang.
He played loud on stage, huh? You were saying?
Say it again, Jude?
You were saying he played pretty loud on stage, Mr. Beck?
Yeah, he is not the loudest guitar player in the world. I would say that's Uli John Roth, who I was on stage with him too. And,
Awesome.
I was waiting for the doors to blow off the building with that. But I would say the thing about Jeff's sound is, yeah, it was loud, but it was so hi-fi. And when you hear sound that is super hi-fi, you can take a lot more volume. Unfortunately, the drums and bass had to come up to that level too. So it got to be a cacophony depending on what song it was. And I tried to wear earplugs, but if it was Metallica, it would be on 11 the whole time, right? But with Jeff, he would come down to a whisper of a ballad, and then he'd be on 11, and the earplugs just weren't cutting it for me. So I chose to damage the hell out of my ears instead. And there are frequencies missing that I will never hear again.
Thanks to Jeff Beck.
Yeah. Before we go on, Jennifer, I'm a huge fan of the era of Scorpions with Uli. So what did you do with him?
You know what? I mean, the beginning of the tour was such a clusterfuck because there was passport problems, and the band, Uli had already been, he was doing a cruise ship thing. So he was already in America, but his German band got stuck and ended up having to go to Canada. And so at the last minute, Uli called Andy Timmons, who was on the tour too. He called Andy and me to split up all the Scorpions songs, and boom, we're in the band. So that was, oh God, that was stressful.
Which tunes did you play?
The only word I can remember is Sharon, Gates of Sharon or something. You would know.
Sales of Sharon.
Sales.
Yeah, Sales of Sharon, yeah.
Burgers. The hamburgers of Sharon. It's been a few years, so I don't remember that part. Things that are traumatizing, I kind of put them in another compartment that I don't bring up often.
Just on an aside right here, diving deep into Van Halen, one thing that he does a lot is these triplets where he picks down and then hammers on and pulls up. So you get the right there. So it's right. He does that really fast, and diving into this, I suddenly realized that's how you play Sales of Sharon. Scorpions, and I finally learned it. It's like it's exactly what Uli's doing on there. You guys can't even see that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't get me started.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's the same technique, and Uli was doing that 1 year before in '77, and Van Halen's record came out in '78.
Right.
So it's an interesting crossover there from that technique. Those two guys are the king of that, as far as I know.
Yeah, for sure. I was quick comment to Rich. Rich, from now on, all of our guests are required to bring their instruments live when we do.
Yeah, this is too cool. Yeah, this is too cool.
You require them to warm up too. I apologize.
You sound great, man. I appreciate it. But actually, I want to ask the three of you, kind of along the same lines of what I asked Jennifer about Jeff Beck. I mean, tell us about some of your greatest connections, whether it was on stage or off, with some of your heroes. It doesn't have to be your target hero for next week, but just some of your great connections you've made. Like I said, either on stage or backstage, or in a studio or whatever. We'll start with, I don't know, whoever wants to go first. Whoever has a great connection. Like Jude, or maybe we'll start with you. Is Jefferson Starship? Is that in the range, or have you played with Eddie? Have you connected with anyone that besides Jennifer and Gretchen and Vicki, of course, who's blowing your mind?
Right. Well, I never got to meet Ed, but I saw him 5 times. But also working for Guitar Player magazine for 20 years now, I've got to interview some of my biggest heroes like Angus and Malcolm that was a conference call for 90 minutes. It was an incredible conversation. And I had fun telling them about my Star Wars AC/DC tribute band that I had that was called R2DC. They thought that was hilarious. It was great to make Angus and Malcolm laugh, but you get to be friends with some of your heroes when you do a lot of interviews, and then you're in LA too. There's so many musicians here, and like Steve Lukather, one of my heroes, not just for all this Toto stuff, but he played with Michael Jackson, and he played on a million other records that I grew up listening to before I even knew it was him. So he's like a real hero of mine. Plus he's hilarious. And this podcast that I have, I sit down with a lot of great players, like jamming with Jennifer Batten and Gretchen on my show is just really cool. Actually when I interviewed Jennifer, we returned to Gretchen's house. So she was on that episode as well. But yeah, so the list is, I've probably interviewed like 300 guitar players in person.
Wow.
So I'm a nerd.
Welcome to the club. Yeah, very nice. So I muted myself. Whoever has a good answer, Gretchen or Vicki, just tell us about meeting or jamming with a hero. I'll nominate Vicki.
Well, I don't think I really had that opportunity, other than Jennifer Batten, which it's no small thing. We got to actually play a song together. We did a couple of tours. Czech Republic, there is actually a real live video of it. Us playing Long Train Running together, and then I got to wish her happy birthday in Czech. But the actual playing together, I mean, come on, who wouldn't go crazy having Jennifer Batten play a solo while you're just strumming some freaking chords? I mean, it was awesome. So, I mean,
that was such a fun tour.
it was great. You were drunk the whole time. Don't even try to tell me you remember.
I was only drunk on my birthday. That was just a ridiculously fun time.
A lot of champagne. All right. Well, how about you, Gretchen? Have you jammed or met or had any encounters with some guitar heroes or musical heroes?
Yeah, I've been lucky. I mean, well, I've played. Jude and I had a little acoustic duo for a minute there that was super fun, and we actually got to open. Our first show was opening for Adrian Belew, and our second and third shows were opening for Steve Morse Band, which was a lot of adrenaline in a short space of time. But I got to play. Jude's an amazing player, a delight to play with. And obviously Jennifer and I did a short tour with Neely Brosh. So we got to do a jam at the end of each night. And she's just an inspiration. A recent highlight is Steve Vai sat in for a short set with Zepparella. And he wanted to rehearse and everything. And like, it was just really, really cool. It's like, it's so easy to think of these people who are larger than life as though they are so far beyond like having to like, do the things that we mortals do with like learning a song or charting it out and stuff. And it was so cool to see, I don't know if it's the reason, but that Steve Vai doesn't rest on his laurels at all. I mean, he wanted to rehearse. He wanted to make sure he got it right. He wanted to come up to me and double check the structure of the song and the order of the solos. And as much as Crossroads would have everybody thinking otherwise, Steve Vai, he's a really fun person to play with because he really makes it a conversation. He's not out to cut heads, at least, that wasn't my experience with him, is that he was really about having a musical dialogue, and as terrifying, absolutely terrifying as it sounds and is to be training solos with Steve Vai, he makes it so musical. And it's like he taps into this place and it encourages you to do the same and kind of leave your ego and your self-doubt behind and just kind of be in the moment. That was it was an incredible lesson, an incredible learning opportunity.
Nice. 100 points for the Crossroad reference, by the way. But anyway, Rich, go ahead. I know it's your turn with the question. Go ahead.
That's right. Before we go on, did you see the names in the comments?
Yeah.
The question. Did I see a name? Did it say Lee Aaron?
Yeah.
Is that the Lee Aaron, the Metal Queen?
Well,
do we know? That'd be pretty awesome.
Not sure.
But it says Lee Aaron, so if it's the Metal Queen, hey. That's awesome.
All right. Well, go ahead, Rich. I know you've got
All
some.
right, so most difficult guitarist for you to either learn or replicate, and why for each one of you guys?
Mine would be Van Halen.
You know the Beat It solo inside out.
You know how many times I gave up before I got it, though? And a couple of years ago, I was playing the Hot for Teachers solo, and it is, man, it's like you're holding on to a really tall building outside on your fingernails and just hope that you won't fall. His rhythm is so advanced that I think that's really difficult. A lot of it is real difficult stuff to get the comfort level where I got this, right? To nail his feel and his flurries of 9 or 13 notes and always land on one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good answer.
Everybody else?
Yeah, we'll go around. How about Jude? You got
no pressure on me after that one, Jennifer. Well, I don't know. To me, there's so many. Like, I've always wanted to learn Wes Montgomery stuff and the way that he strums and plays single note lines with his thumb. It's the most grooving stuff. And I've learned some little bits here and there, but I've never dove deeply in it. It's so far beyond me. And then there's people that are just from another planet, like Alan Holdsworth.
Right.
That not in this lifetime. So yeah, that's a long list right there. But
I'm sorry, I got to jump in. So yeah, I tried to learn some Wes Montgomery about 10 years ago, and I went, yeah, I'm too late. Someone should have showed this to me when I was 15. When I was just banging out power chords. I should have been learning these chords because holy shit, he's like from another planet. He's just such an incredible guitar player. Yeah, so I completely like felt the thrill when you brought him up. But so I applaud that answer.
The list is very long.
All
right, how about you, Gretchen?
I want to have like a good, clear answer, but I feel like anybody whose stuff I've learned, like really sat down and learned it note for note, has their own things that make it difficult. So while like learning a Steve Morse tune might be really difficult from like a picking and compositional standpoint, I mean, just the stuff he says, he plays is very demanding in terms of technique and articulation. On the other hand, trying to play the Heartbreaker solo and emulate Jimmy fumbling all over himself, but somehow still sticking with it is also really difficult. Or getting like, running around the stage like Angus Young while playing those solos exactly as they're supposed to be played. I kind of feel like it's all difficult. I learned a Django Reinhardt tune, and Django is amazing too. It's like what he did with 2 fingers, like many of us would be very happy to do with all of our fingers. So his sense of time and dynamics and everything are so beautiful too. So I can't pick just one. I think it's difficult to learn anybody's stuff other than your own, and even your own stuff can be really difficult too if you're that kind of a writer.
All right, good answer. All right, so Vicki.
Well, for this question, guys, I'm in a little bit of a different category. I basically spent my whole career learning to play my own style and my own way and learning to not play like other people. So I haven't spent a lot of time trying to play like other guitarists. I know that may sound really odd, but that's kind of the truth. And when I think about the world of percussive acoustic fingerstyle players, of which that world is exploding lately, there's a player named John Gomm, Jongomm, and all of y'all need to check out John Gomm's videos. Jude, are you familiar with him? He stands out to me because he's doing wild stuff with tunings and percussion, but he's also an incredible singer too. And so one of the things that John does often in his songs, like maybe 25 times in a song, he just adds notes by tuning in the middle of a phrase.
Wow.
I can't even do it on this guitar. The pegs are too tight. But he'll literally go, ba-do-na-na-na-no, while he's singing some shit, you know. And it's like, what the motherfucker? You have to have such an ear, first of all, to be able to catch those notes. I mean, think about it. I mean, you know, like, try doing that. And then he's just, I want you all to check out John Gum. You'll fall in love with him. He's such a heartfelt guy, and his songs are so deep and beautiful. And then he's got this stuff going. I don't know that I could ever do what he does in that sense. So,
you know, another person that does that is Adrian Legg, and it sounds impossible. It sounds impossible, but he says it's easy. He's got like banjo tuners or something.
Yes, you can get tuners where you flip. You just literally flip them.
Right.
It's a flip. It's not a turn, and it'll take you either a half step or a whole step up or down. That's cheating. That's not what John's doing.
Okay.
He's turning the motherfuckers, literally tuning. So yeah, but that's a cool idea to the banjo tuners.
You know, Michael Ackerfeld of Opeth actually has a song right at the very end. He does this very pretty acoustic piece, but someone is standing by there and basically detuning one of the strings. It's going down and down, and the song like his piece. It's a circular piece, but it keeps changing over and over again. But that just reminded me of that. As you're saying that, the song is "Burden," by the way, by Opeth. I don't know if you guys are. Michael Ackerfeld is a pretty amazing guitar player too. But you know, so I have a question actually for you, Vicki, since we're on you. I'm going to throw another one at you. Is about the open tunings. I mean, who are some other? Of course, Joni Mitchell is your focus for next week. But who are some great open tuning players? I have a couple in mind, but I want to hear you, since this is where your domain. Who are some of your favorites? And then also part 2 of that is what are some of your favorite open tunings?
So other open tuning players that I really love. Well, you're going to make me go blank. Pierre Bensoussan, for instance, plays in Dadgad. He's an incredible player. Peter Finger, you probably don't know him. He's from Germany. He plays in, he was good friends with Pierre. He didn't want to play in the same tuning, so he came up with his own tuning. Peter plays like orchestral stuff in open tuning. It's mind-blowing. You got people like Christy Linnae, who's a much younger player. She's doing some great stuff with open tuning. You got people like Andy McKee, Don Ross, a Canadian player. Beautiful, beautiful open tuning. I don't know if you guys have heard of any of these people.
Some of them are right about.
But those are some that come to mind. Khaki King, and yeah. So there's lots of them now. Those are some that come to my mind easily. In terms of my favorite tunings, Joni said something about being shown at first she was shown like an open E tuning or open G tuning, open D tuning, which are basically just major chords. They're major triads, root, third, fifths. And she was like, that was cool. She said, but my life and my emotions were much more complex than just like a major chord, and so she started finding her own tunings, and a lot of them would be minors or minor 7 or minor 9s, but probably more of them ended up being like sus chords, because the way she put it, it's like, a suspended chord without really a third, with just maybe a 4th and a 9 and, flat 3, or not a third at all. But with these suspended sounding chords would always be like a question, she said. And that's basically how I felt most of my life, like things were just always unresolved and there was these huge questions. So I have to say that without even knowing that she thought that way, a lot of my favorite tunings end up being more undefinable. They're like this one in a way. It kind of wants to resolve, It's like a big 5 chord waiting to go somewhere. So I have a lot of those kind of tunings myself, and then I have my favorite chord of all time is a minor 9 sus 4. So that that's my favorite guitar tuning in various iterations, with a low C or a low E or D even. So yeah.
Have you tried Da Dead? Has a creepy
Da Dead
name.
is one of my favorite tunings, actually, and it's one of the only ones I can actually say. I love that. Who said that? Jude? Was that you, Jude?
That was Jude.
Yeah, Jude. Da Dead is great.
Dead.
Yeah,
sinister.
and if you know Da Dead, take the low D, bring it down to a C, and that low A and bring it down to a G, and you will blow your own mind with that tuning.
Nice.
Dead.
Sigadead, exactly.
That's for doom metal too. But I was, you know, as for alternate tunings, of course, the ones that come to mind, you know, of course, Keith Richards
Sure.
He's a fan. Devin Townsend is someone who I really love, who does a lot of open tunings. He's someone, and of course, Jimmy Page fucked around in that area too. I mean, you know, you guys have heard of him, right? Jimmy Page, yeah. So he's someone else.
There's so many players that actually use open tunings, way more than I think most people realize in all musical worlds.
Cool. All right. Well, all right. I mean, sorry, Rich. Go ahead. I know.
That's okay. Finish up what you're going to say.
No. I mean, I was just thinking out loud. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead with your next question.
Okay. Well, I'm wearing a Queen shirt. So, how has Brian May impacted you guys? Impact you?
Queen is like right up there with Zeppelin for me. Like, it was actually the band that my sister and I bonded over when we were in high school and super angsty and like didn't like any of the music that was like that our friends were listening to. So we started listening to older stuff and discovered Queen. And it was like we went down this beautiful rabbit hole of like every album. Like there was a documentary series called Queen the Magic Years and watched all of that. So and I actually think that Brian May is one of the most underappreciated not just guitar players, but soloists. I think his solos are these perfect little compositions that are so succinct and so carefully thought out. And I just love Queen.
Yeah, great answer.
Sorry to interrupt, but Nick Drake, yes. Should have mentioned him. Everyone should listen to Nick Drake for open tunings and also just songs. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's beautiful, beautiful sound. Queen, anyone else? Got a response? Brian May and Queen?
I love Queen. The tone is incredible. Brian May, I saw him playing on an awards show like 2 years ago, and it was right there, everything, his sound. It was so real, you know, unsullied over all these decades. I first fell in love with them when, because my first guitar hero was Nile Rodgers, you know, from Chic.
Yeah.
And of course, the bass line to that song is. So when Queen came out with the guitar, whatever the Brian May, I bought that with my allowance on vinyl for $4.99 at the drugstore near my house. It was a really incredible day for me. And then every song on that record, you know, is so like Dragon Attack and Crazy Little Thing Called Love. That was an incredible gateway for me as a kid to get into Queen.
I think Jude is our resident guitar ecologist.
I'd love to meet Brian, but I did have Nile Rodgers on this show just in November, and it was incredible. Like just because he's one of my heroes, and everyone always plays on my show, so I'm kind of used to it. Like, you know, just got to play. I make Jennifer play, make Gretchen play. Vicki, got my eye on you.
Yeah, do a quick plug, Jude. I mean, let people should go out and check out your show.
Yeah, it's called No Guitar Is Safe. I've been doing it for 5 years. It's about 130 episodes in, but it's tied in with Guitar Player Magazine. They sponsor me for it, but it's the labor of love, you know, talking to great players like everyone here and so many others.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. So we've only been talking for 2 minutes, but we're almost at an hour. So I don't know how that happened, but that's been a fun conversation. I want to ask. I wanted to geek out a lot about all four of your guitar choices and you guys yourselves, but I will say there's a question I really have to ask: is who is your number two pick? I'll ask for each of our panelists. What was your number two pick? If you couldn't take the guitar player you're going to focus on next week, who would have been your second choice? We'll start with Jennifer. Start with you.
I'm the one that doesn't have an answer. I don't.
Oh, it was always Jeff Beck.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of guitar players I love. George Lynch, I love his sound. It's so fluid.
Yeah,
but I'm not that familiar. I never learned any of his solos. You know what? My second pick would be Van Halen.
Very cool. All right, how about Jude?
I couldn't have a second pick, but one of them, if I had to, maybe Stevie Ray Vaughan. I was a big fan. I saw him when I was 13. My elbows on the stage. He was right in front of me before he got really famous.
It's amazing.
Sweat was dripping onto the tip of his cowboy hat and then just dripping straight down. I got some of his sweat. No, I didn't. I'm just kidding. That's kind of weird. But yeah, it was like I lived that stuff. This was before the interwebs. It's like I remember just sitting there looking through the side of the stage before he started, and I saw all these Stratocasters, and I just felt like Texas was coming to San Francisco. Like we're being visited by some outside shit. And then he came on, and his rhythm guitar playing, all these great lead players, the rhythm is such a huge part of it. Stevie Ray Vaughan may be one of the best rhythm guitar players ever, forgetting his leads and his solos. So I could go on about him.
All right, great answers. All right, Gretchen, who would be your number two?
Oh, there's so many I love, but honestly, I don't think I'm qualified to really to do anything that would be properly called a deep dive into somebody else. I mean, I don't think learning a couple solos by a guitarist you really love or listening a lot to the music puts me in a category that would make me able to really speak to it intelligently enough that I would feel comfortable. I mean, not to say that I wouldn't love to do it. I mean, I've definitely learned some Jeff Beck tunes, and I've learned, a bunch of AC/DC and other things, but man, it's like there are only so many hours in the day. And most of the time I'm actually spending writing my own stuff. So there's always this long list of solos I want to learn and people whose licks I love. But I don't know if there really would be somebody that I should do. So it worked out well that I happened to learn know a lot of songs by an icon.
Yeah.
Hey Jack, I got a jet in a couple minutes. Just FYI.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're just about ready to wrap. So I mean, this will be the last question. But yeah. We appreciate. I'll just say really quickly, if you have to go at 6 on the dot, thank you guys so much for being here. We'll take Vicki's answer and then we'll kind of wrap it up.
Oh, I don't know, Gretchen, your whole logic there just puts me out of the whole thing that I should never be teaching any deep dive on a Guitar Hero.
No.
I've never played Joni's music before. I've only been deeply inspired by it, which is really different. You know what I mean? So all you need to do is you just need to be inspired. You can deep dive anybody. So yeah, there's a bunch of players. There's like, I'd love to deep dive into John Gomm's playing and just really figure out what the hell is that crazy man doing. But I don't have a whole lot to say on that. There's a million people.
Well, but Vicki has been working for 2 months on being able to bring the best of Joni to you all.
Oh yeah.
Like we all have with the various characters that we're diving into, Jeff Beck, Van Halen, Jimmy Page, and January 16th, man, 9 to 5. It's nonstop guitar nerd fun. Guitar candy. So don't be late. Register now at guitarcloudsymposium.com. And we also do an hour Q&A at the end of the day, as well as Q&As within our own modules. So there's a lot of interaction with students. So anything you want to know about any particular techniques, we'd be glad to spew it out there to the world.
Yep. And don't think you got to be a monster guitar player to get something out of this, because we're all bringing some really, really fun insights into what we're teaching that are going to be applicable to many different levels.
All right. Well, that seems like the perfect way to take us out. I'm going to say thank you guys. Rich, I don't know if you wait. I'll let Rich, you take us out. I'm going to say thank you guys so much. It's been an honor. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming on. Good luck with the show, too.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you out there for watching.
All right. Yes, thanks, guys.
Rock.
All right.